Ooh, man, this may surprise you, but for the longest time now, I have really hated my artwork. I'll create a piece and at first I think it's pretty cool, and then every single time I look at it again, I think to myself, man, this is trash. Now, the crazy thing about this, at least to those of you who are watching this video, is that I actually believe this has been a very good thing for me. Even crazier is that I would intentionally do things in order to hate my work. And for me personally, if I didn't do things to actively hate my work, I would still be an amateur. But how can being so down on yourself actually be a good thing? I'm going to explain it to you. And this may very well transform the way that you view your own work, the way that you view negative emotions in general, and the way that you view criticism in all forms. Now, I may say some things that rub you the wrong way, but keep in mind I am not claiming that this is the only mindset that will push you forward. But I am saying it is certainly one of them, and it is more common than you think. And it isn't so much about hating your work as it is about priming yourself to not settle for your own mediocrity and to maximize your potential for your own benefit, albeit in a brutal fashion. Now, let me open this with an experience I think we all share. Once upon a time, I drew this piece and something about it just did not sit right with me, and so I sought out a second, third, fourth opinion, hoping to get some honest feedback that would help me fix my problems. But unfortunately, people who were supposed to be my friends and even some fellow artists could not just keep it real with me. I would go to them pleading, please tell me, why does my artwork suck? I need to know why. I hate it. And no, I didn't really cry. But you want to know what they told me? They would tell me things like, oh no, it's okay because you're expressing yourself and that's all that matters. Fuck your skill. It's not about skill level at all. It's about your heart. And because I live in the real world with all of you incredible people, I know that opinions like that are absolute hot garbage. And if you agree with me, like and subscribe, because I'm only going to keep it real with you. What I really needed was somebody to hate my work as much as I did. Someone who could be brutally honest with me about the skills I need to develop. Skills that I have included in the guide below this video. Now, you might think that hate is too strong of a word to use here, and I get it, but soon you'll understand why I go to this extreme. It's basically a self-induced method of becoming comfortable with failure and even welcoming failure. One of the ways I do this is I will complete a piece and I will nitpick every little thing I could possibly find until eventually I just hate the damn thing. And because of this, there isn't a single piece that I've done that I just don't hate. And I'm cool with that because the benefits of hating my work far outweigh the negatives, of which for me there are none. One of the benefits is that no matter how good I get, it just keeps me so freaking hungry to get better. And I think that many of us, if not all of us, have felt this at some point. It's that desire to be better that's so strong it feels like a need. And it's a hunger that's only satiated by hitting benchmark after benchmark after benchmark. But then of course, inevitably we hit plateaus. You've hit them, and of course I've hit them as well. That's partly what my guide below this video is for. It's for when you've hit a point where you don't know exactly what to do next to push your skills. This is whether you're a complete beginner or if you've already started your journey. So you should definitely be sure to grab that as well. But as we all know, the answers to what we need are not always this easy to come by when we plateau. So the only thing we have to rely on is that hunger for us to get better until we find what we need. This manner of nitpicking my own work also gets me into the mindset of being brutally honest when it comes to self-critique, which is really important when you're trying to develop yourself. And this is especially true when we can't necessarily depend on the critique of other people around us. Like, for example, when you get feedback that is unnecessarily prescriptive, or when you find people who will critique just for the sake of critique in order to feel superior. I also think that too often we settle for what's just good enough. I mean, it's fine from time to time, but when you do it too much, you sabotage your own progress. So it's important to get into the habit of self-critique throughout your process so that you catch your mistakes as you make them rather than when it's too late. This is also a huge part of the atelier method of drawing, which is something I go over in the guide below as well. There is also this huge fear of failure that seems to be pervasive amongst those who are trying to grow as artists. So what they do as a result is they sell themselves short and they avoid aiming high. And they resort to ineffective practices that avoid the feeling of failure. That failure being the creation of a bad drawing. And so people will resort to practices like tracing, even though it's not optimal, in order to avoid the experience of producing an ugly drawing. Now, this is a whole other conversation entirely, but to put it briefly, tracing does not create nearly the same stimulation required to develop your drawing skills that freehand drawing does, because there is no risk involved in tracing. Therefore, you don't internalize much of anything unless you're being guided properly. That can be a whole video in and of itself. But you want to get comfortable stepping outside of your comfort zone and producing work that you hate looking at in order to get to the good stuff. And what you do in the face of failure is important, as it will define your trajectory. So instead of running away from failure, you embrace it, and so it no longer harms you and it becomes part of the process. Now, this also ties into setting high standards for yourself and also having high standards for art in general. Now, what I'm about to tell you is very controversial because everyone else will say the opposite. But if you're going to adopt this mindset, you're going to have to compare yourself to other artists. And this is the part where everybody freaks out, but the reason for this is really obvious. Where do you think standards come from? Well, obviously they come from the artists who set them before you. So if you are in fact holding yourself to a high standard, then comparison is inevitable. You don't actually know how good you are unless you stack yourself up against your competition. And yes, art is in fact a competition. If you don't believe me, look at the countless people who are afraid of competing with AI. I understand that people have lied to many of you by selling you feel-good platitudes and cope. And copium is a hell of a drug, but competition does not have to be a scary word. And acknowledging that your art does not yet stack up to your competition does not have to freeze you in your tracks. In fact, it can be a source of inspiration and also motivation. For example, I'm sure that many of you have heard phrases like you're the average of the people that you hang out with, or you become what you eat. But what I like to say is you become what you consume. You consume food, you consume information, you consume content, and you also consume art. So my question to you is, how do you become a great artist yourself if you don't look at and compare yourself to great examples? And I ask you this because I've come across many who wouldn't even dare to look at great artwork because they're afraid to look at their own work and to hate it in comparison to those amazing examples. For them, it's a lot of pressure. But there's nothing wrong with hating the fact that you're not there yet. I mean, that's all of us at some point, no matter how good we get. And it's going to help you build thicker skin in the face of adversity, which is especially true today because we currently live in a broader world, the art world included, that is insistent on fostering delicate minds that can't handle anything harsh. And being too delicate isn't going to help you if you're trying to develop yourself in such a challenging discipline. Now, the question is, do you actually need to truly hate your own artwork? Well, let me answer it this way. If you truly care about something and you absolutely hate the state that it's in, then you're going to take steps and actions to improve the state that it's in if you truly care about it. So what I'm actually telling you in a bit of a roundabout way is one way in which you can more effectively care for your work, which ironically is by hating the state that it's in order to take meaningful action. And by psyching yourself in this manner, it should also help you to become more resilient, hopefully. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm crazy? Let me know in the comments below, and of course feel free to grab that guide below if you're stuck in your own progress. And of course, if you want to help me help you, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.